Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamunatira Avanachari Yamunatira Avanachari Jayodama Madhava Kunjari Jayodama Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Girivaradari Shuranandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashuranandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Jadamadava Javivari Jaya Radhamadava Javivari Jaya Radhamadava Kunjabihari Hava Kunjabihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Shiva Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Guru Guru Jaya Guru Deva. Bhagavatam Puja. Oh, Manangi, beautiful. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Te Sudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 4, text number 20. 7:4:20. Sorry. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Driptasyo Jastravartina. Dripasyo Jastravartina. Driptasyo Jastravartina. Tasyo Jastravartina. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. Brahma Shapan Upeyusha. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Driptasyo Chastravartina. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. Please chant. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Dripasyo Chastravartina. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Dripasyo Chastravartina. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. Evam Aishvaryamattasya. Dripasyo Chastravartina. Kalomahan Vyatiyaya. Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. I would like to invite devotees online to chant, please.
Evam Aishvaryamattasya Giriptasyo Chaskiravartinaha
Dripasyo Chastravartina.
Kalo Mahanvati Yaya
Kalomahan Vyatiyaya.
Brahma Shapam Upe Yushaha
Brahma Shapam Upeyusha.
Evam Aishwaryamattasya
Rameshwaryamattasya.
Triptasyo Chastravartinaha
Driptasyo Chastravartinaha.
Kalo Mahan Vyatiyaya
Kalomahan Vyatiyaya.
Pramashapam Upeyushaha.
Brahma Shapam Upeyusha. Anyone else?
Evam Ashvaryamattasyaha
Rameshwaryamattasya.
Driptasyo Vartinaha
Driptasyo Chastravartinaha.
Kalomahan Vyatiyaya
Kalomahan Vyatiyaya.
Brahma Shapam Upeyushaha.
Brahma Shapam Upeyushaha. Thank you. Word for word. Evam, thus, Aishvarya Matasya,
Aishwarya
of one who was intoxicated by opulences. Driptasya, greatly proud. Ut Shastra Vartina, transgressing the regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras. Kala, duration of time. Mahan, a great. Vyatiyaya, past. Brahma Shapam, a curse by exalted Brahmanas. Upeyusha, having obtained. Translation. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras who were great Brahmanas. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There have been many instances in which demons, after achieving material opulences, have become extremely proud. So much so that they have transgressed the laws and regulations given in the authoritative Shastras. Hiranyakashipu acted in this way, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 16:23. Ya Shastra vidim utsrijya vartate kama karataha nasasiddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. He who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. The word Shastra refers to that which controls our activities. We cannot violate or transgress the laws and regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras. Bhagavad Gita repeatedly confirms this. Tasmak Shastram pramanam te karya vyavastito Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Iharhasi. One should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Bhagavad Gita 16:24. One should act according to the direction of the Shastra, but the material energy is so powerful that as soon as one becomes materially opulent, he begins to transgress the Shastric laws. As soon as one transgresses the laws of Shastra, he immediately enters upon the path of destruction. Evameshvaryamattasya driptasyo chastravartina kalomahan vyatiyaya brahmashapam upeyusha. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time, being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras who were great Brahmanas. Om Gyanatimrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unvitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are carrying on this wonderful pastime that actually spans through entire 7th canto. And Hiranyakashipu carries on his enjoyment, being very proud of what he has achieved and his power, and thus not really paying attention to any information, any rules and regulations that are mentioned in the Shastras. And although he apparently enjoys, this is illusion, because each day, every minute, every second, when he indulges in sense gratification, he actually creating a plot for himself that would ultimately lead to his destruction. So this material enjoyment, as we are learning from the authoritative scriptures, is illusory because it has nothing to do with our constitutional position as a soul. So when we try to enjoy using material means, it will always lead to dissatisfaction ultimately at the end. It's like a mirage on a desert. You probably heard this example many times that when there's very hot and you're on the desert, you will start to hallucinate or you will start to see the water, and often people would run to it, just find nothing but sand. So that's a very sad situation. When we were living in Las Vegas, we often would travel from Las Vegas to Los Angeles for Ratha Yatra and to visit the temples there. And probably 3/4 of the journey from Las Vegas to Los Angeles is through a desert. So the highway just runs through the desert and it's like nothing really there, sometimes for miles. And when we would drive on a very hot day, actually in the front, as you drive, like maybe, I don't know, half a mile distance, you could see on a highway, you could see water. You could see really that there is like a water, and then as you approach that spot, there was nothing there. So it's not only our own like imagination, but actually I don't know, somebody who knows all those, reactions that happens in nature. They could explain this in more scientific way. But basically, because of such a hot temperature, that was created this image that from distance looks like water. So similarly, that's our pursuit for material happiness, and that's exactly what Hiranyakashipu is doing. He is just chasing something that is not there, and that's why, as I was mentioning and quoting from Bhagavad Gita on last Saturday, that those demoniac persons who are after material gratification, their thirst is never satisfied. So they always want more and more. And why do they want more? Why, not only demoniac, but even when we try to satisfy some of our desires, why we always want more and more and more? Because this fire is never extinguished by material means. So it doesn't matter how much we get, what we seemingly want, there's always lack of satisfaction, and that's why there's always search for something more and more and more. And that's exactly Hiranyakashipu, to the point that he's not paying attention to anything mentioned, especially in the Shastras. So what are the Shastras? So Shastras are authoritative scriptures. They are instruction, they are manuals for those who are in the material world, what we should do and how we should do. Just like Shlapa mentioned here, they give us understanding what is duty and what is not a duty. And when we, by Shastric injunction, we can gradually elevate ourselves to the spiritual platform. When we neglect, then we are just throwing ourselves in the whirlpool of material miseries and entanglement. And why we should follow the Shastras. Srila Prabhupada mentioned here in 1624 a duty. One should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. So I actually, out of curiosity, can I give my phone? I pull out a definition of what means duty, because personally in my life, I don't hear this word often. I don't know if you do hear. I hear like jury duty, or maybe military duty, but otherwise, I don't, this kind of, maybe this word came out of fashion. Like, you don't hear duty so much. So the definition of duty is that a moral or legal obligation, a responsibility. It's my duty to uphold the law, or also a task or action that someone is required to perform. So in other words, a must to do. Yeah, so those are the main definition of that word duty. So it kind of sounds like a heavy. We must do something. Whereas when it comes to spiritual life, it seems it should be organic. It should be, it should come with a feeling and affection. And if there's no feeling and affection, then it's not very genuine spiritual path. And that's why you see so many spiritual people nowadays. They have this understanding. Their intention is, I need to find my own way. I'm spiritual. I'm just doing a little bit of this, little bit of that, and I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm really very, very spiritual. But my personal observation is, and if any of you have observation like that too, I would be very happy to hear this, that they understanding of Krishna or God, it's basically zero. Like, although they are spiritual, they are impersonalized at the same time. Like they are, because of trying to invent their own spiritual path, they are basically closing the door to a real spiritual progress, to ultimate goal of spiritual life, which is Krishna. And they are not able to do it. So that's why we are duty bound to follow those injunctions from Shastras, because they will lead us where we want to go. They will lead us to unlock our true nature as always blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal spirit souls. But one may say, but why? Why it cannot be more like, how I feel about this, not that I have to do this. The reason is that we are not here in our own place. We didn't create the material world. We didn't create anything here. And we didn't create ourselves. So basically, we are just renting everything or utilizing. Krishna is the one who created this, and we know that Brahma was like a second engineer. But Krishna has created everything. So whatever you get right now, any tools and equipment, I just recently got an air fryer, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm gonna just, you open this thing, you put stuff, and no, I didn't know how to use it. I had to actually go back to the manual. I had to go and read it, like how to use this machine. So we also need this guidance, how we can not only live peacefully here in the material world, because we have no clue about the material world. We think we know, we think that we have all figured it out, but then we fail over and over and over and are chasing for this mirage on a desert. So we need a guidance that will actually tell us, this is how it is, this is what you need to do. It's a manual how to operate in this place that we are, what we have been for endless lifetimes. And that's why we have been for endless lifetime, because we probably, just like Hiranyakashipu, we were just trying to lead our own ways that lead us to nowhere. But finally, now, and congratulations to all of you and myself, that we finally got, we came to our senses, and we maybe not even like remembering all the painful experiences that we had in previous lifetimes, but because of this purification and suffering, we finally came to the conclusion, okay, no, there's no other way, but just like genuine spiritual path, which is Krishna consciousness. Okay, so since Srila Prabhupada refers here a lot to Bhagavad Gita, I just would like to also review with you some of those verses from Bhagavad Gita. So it's chapter 16, and it's 20, 23, and 24. Okay, so in text 23, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the direction of Shastras are giving to different castes and orders of human society, and everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. So human life means regulations. Srila Prabhupada also would sometimes mention that first become human and then try to become Krishna conscious. What means human? Human means that we are not acting whimsically. We are actually following certain rules and regulation of a human life. And Srila Prabhupada explains here that if one does not follow them and act whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desires, then he never will be perfect in his life. And I remember my Guru Maharaj mentions the research that has been done some time ago when they were interviewing people who were terminally ill and just counting their days when they will have to leave the body, and they asked them what's some of the regrets that they have, what they could change, what they would have done differently if they have another chance. Of course, they would have many chances after that, but they were not aware of this. And one of the predominant answer that was coming on the top was that they basically didn't feel fulfilled and satisfied. Like they were answering, oh, we're trying to be pleasing to everyone else. We're just trying to please and not really following our own desires. But also this answer is also not correct, because even if they just forget any other obligation they had through family, whatever, and they would just pursue what they wanted, they still won't be satisfied unless the pursuit would be genuine spiritual pursuit in a line of Krishna consciousness. But this also shows that if someone just follows his last greed and desires, they at the end of life they will not be satisfied. They will never achieve the perfection. And we can just realize not only at the end of life, but even daily. I don't know if you have those days. I certainly have many, that I'm just trying to enjoy and following my own ideas of what happiness means. And at the end, I just feel like the day was wasted. The entire days was basically wasted. When we forget to keep Krishna in the center. So Srila Prabhupada continues here that it's pretty heavy. Actually, Srila Prabhupada says, in other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. Lowest of mankind. So once again, it's confirmation that human life means regulations. And although they may taste bitter in the beginning, as Krishna explained in Bhagavad Gita, that the happiness in the modes of goodness in the beginning may taste bitter, may be difficult, may be challenging. But if we stick to it, then we build strength, we create habits, but then those habits will turn into actually affectionate execution of our duties, and the taste would be there. And I'm longing for this day that I would have these days for chanting, for waking up in the morning and coming to the temple. And I know it's coming, but it has to be this faith of showing up regardless how I feel. So that part of the duty is that duty means you do it regardless what. If you feel it like it or you don't feel like it, you still do it. Where whimsical action is based on our feelings or desires that we have in the moment. So if we feel like, we will show up. If we don't feel like, who cares? And then Srila Prabhupada continues, in the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane. Okay. Sane. That's kind of becoming more rare and rare in Kali Yuga. Sanity, right? Even just get in your car and start driving. I mean, you can hardly find sane drivers. It's you may be the best driver, and some years back maybe that was enough. If you were a skillful driver, you're pretty safe on the road. But now you may be very attentive and skillful driver, but the danger is around you because the people are so spaced out. They have no sense of danger at all. Especially with the invention of texting, they are just texting, and you can see the driver in the front of you that is like cannot even stay in a lane, They speed varies for no reason. They hit the brakes for no reasons, and as you pass them, you always get so angry actually, because they are actually risking their own life, but also risking the life of others. And then you pass them by, and you see that they are like on a phone. Or sometimes I don't know if you ever seen those like drivers that they would have a dog on their lap as they drive, and not just passenger seat, but like on their lap, and the dog is like hanging out through the window, and it's just like. So yes, sanity is a rare quality in Kali Yuga and become more and more rare. So Srila Prabhupada says it's expected to be sane and to follow regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. So this is the entire goal, elevating our life to the highest platform, and it needs to start on the level of regulations. And if he does not follow, then he just degrades himself. When we try to go upwards, like, have you ever tried like run up the hill or maybe bike up the hill? Have you done it, Ram? Is it harder uphill? Yeah, it's harder, right? So this example is really good. So when we try to elevate ourselves, we can expect that it will be harder. If we try to stay on the same level, it may seem it's easier, but the way the material nature is created, especially in Kali Yuga, when it's predominantly modes of passion and ignorance, actually when you try to stay on a plateau, you are just falling down. So this, if we want to elevate ourselves, we need to expect that there will be a resistance, that there will be challenge, that we need to push harder, going through those rules and regulations and getting ourselves, mobilizing ourselves and coming and showing up. Because if we don't, then we're just going the other way around pretty fast. Here's something interesting that Srila Prabhupada also explains, but even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles, and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, that then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. So that's a very important indication. So we are not just following the rules and regulations just for the sake of following, but we need to understand why. Why is so important. If we have why, it will push us through the hardest times, right? But if why is not strong, then when there's a little, push from Maya, then we also will just fall down like the trees when there's a strong wind and they didn't started going straight, that they will very easily break. I know this topic of why is more like when you are in a kind of business setting, they like really have a lot of exercises to like find out what is your why you want to do this, why you want to really go for your material goals. But we can apply those principles to our spiritual life and ask ourselves daily, why I'm doing this, why I'm really doing this. And that will really help us to not just follow the rules and regulations for the sake of following, but actually follow them and collect the fruits in a form of purification and developing our love to Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada says further, and even if he accepts the existence of God, if he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. So another level of that is that it's not only following and understanding, but also engaging in the service of Krishna. So we are in a perfect process. We have everything here. Srila Prabhupada gave us everything here. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. Yes. And in chapter, there's actually those two texts, purport of Srila Prabhupada, there's so much insight, so I highly recommend that you study them or read them today, because I will not have time to read all of them. But I just want to conclude the class by saying here that from the purport of text 24, Srila Prabhupada explains that if one understands Krishna from Bhagavad Gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaged in himself in devotional service, he has reached the highest perfection of knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process very easy. He asked people simply to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even Ram can do this with a smile. And to engage in devotional service of the Lord. And the last one, and eat the remnants of foodstuff offerings to the deities. Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. So one who is directly engaged in all these devotional activities is to be understood as having studied all the Vedic literature. So we got a shortcut. Like from temple here to the farm buffet, you can take the straight road, right? But if you like, you can also go through the forest and by the creek. And probably by the time you get to farm buffet, there'll be nothing left. So Srila Prabhupada was so kind and so merciful that he gave us the process of Krishna consciousness, which is a shortcut. We don't have to try to invent our own spiritual process. We don't really have to worry so much about all those Vedic injunctions, like all of them, because there's a lot of them, like a lot. We just have a simple process: chant Hare Krishna, engage in devotional service, and honor prasadam. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions or comments, or if anybody knows about this, how the four Kumaras curse Hiranyakashipu, and I really couldn't find any reference. Oh, so yeah, we have a scholar here. So Prabhu mentioned, oh, the curse was that they curse Jai, Vijay, and yes, and the whole many birds. The three birds actually happened for Hiranyakashipu later. Okay, thank you so much. I was like, any other questions or comments from devotees in the temple or online?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Mai.
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna, Dharka Prabhu.
thank you for a very nice class. I always enjoy hearing your classes, and today I am especially appreciating your comments about why. It's important to be inquisitive, and as you pointed out, without understanding why, simply following rules and regulations will not sustain us at some point or other. We may fall down if we don't understand why we're doing what we do. In the beginning of our experience of Krishna consciousness, we are sometimes buoyed to some extent by peer pressure amongst devotees, because human beings are social animals. We are subject to the influence of others, and we want to be a part of society, and so we try to conform ourselves to the patterns we see around us. And so for new devotees, sometimes the process is one of just trying to to learn the patterns and conform to them, whatever is going on in the temple. You learn the behaviors, the achar, the things that you should be doing and what you should not be doing. And you even pick up the language, the lingo. And so, gradually a person conforms themselves to what's going on around them, but without also learning why these things are done, you're in a precarious position. So, therefore, Srila Prabhupada stressed the importance of studying the books and also hearing classes regularly in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. By doing so, you get all of the whys. You understand why these things are done, why it's important, and when you understand why, it becomes very powerful. Then it's no longer a matter of conforming to your immediate social environment or peer pressure, but you become yourself motivated. You understand this is my best interest. You understand how and why. So, very, very important. That's without establishing that firm foundation, you're on unstable ground. So, it's important early on in our practice of Krishna consciousness to learn all of the reasons why. All of that comes by um, scrupulously studying the books and regularly hearing classes. And one should be inquisitive. You'll take advantage of the opportunity to hear from others who are more experienced, or more knowledgeable, particularly the spiritual master. Uh, in the case of the spiritual master, particularly the process of associating with the spiritual master is that you render service and you place inquiry. So that should be done. And we're fortunate enough to have a spiritual master. We should render service to him and inquire from him so that we can derive the greatest benefit. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts. I'm just appreciating the value of that inquisitiveness. It's hugely important. I've seen what happens when that element is absent, when people sometimes just follow the patterns without understanding why. They can't sustain it. At some point or other, Maya will carry them away. So it's very important to progress beyond that. You have to understand why. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for elaborating on the topic of understanding our motivation, our why behind. It's certainly very, very important. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know some devotees here, they had questions. I just got it.
My icon was subsumed by Archimedes.
That's a Saraswat Prabhu had a comment or question, but he said that Clark Prabhu already said everything. Anyone else have question or comment? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Baba Prabhu mentioned here that especially the biggest takeaway from the class was what Srila Prabhupada mentioned in Bhagavad Gita to the purport into the text 1623 that If we wouldn't have Krishna consciousness, then just like the rest, probably 99.9% of other people, it's very elusive for them to actually chase their own dreams in a whimsical way and then end up being unsatisfied at the end. Okay, so there's, yeah.
Since your class was really very wonderful and very inspiring and triggered so many different thoughts, so then I was thinking, since devotees have very appreciative and in tune with what you said, I will challenge you. So you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada, you read from Srila Prabhupada purport that if you follow rules and regulations, and then you are coming closer to human level of sanity. So I can say that so many people of business and material success, they follow rules and regulations. So therefore they are successful. If they will not follow the rules and regulations, they will be very whimsical. For sure, they will not achieve success. So then how you can explain this? They follow the rules and regulations. Even Hiranyakashipu was following the rules and regulations. You know, his rule was that Vishnu is enemy, and I need to do everything against this. So this some rules and regulations. He has some rules.
Yeah, he followed the rules, but not the right rules. That's the problem. So we see that it takes to achieve anything. It actually takes to follow some rules, some discipline, some routines in order to achieve them. But again, it depends what kind of rules we are following. We can invent our own rules and follow them, and then the result would be accordingly. But if we follow the rules that are given by the Supreme, that are devoid of those four faults that the human rules would carry, because of the tendency to cheat, command the illusion, what's the other two? Imperfect senses, and tendency to cheat. Yeah, I want to say lie. Tendency to cheat. Then also the result, if the rules are invented under those four faults, then also the result will be and like that. But if we follow the rules that were created by the Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna, those rules are perfect. So the result also will lead us to the perfect way, as long as we remember our why, not just following them for the sake of following. And in our personal experience, I can share with my husband that we noticed that we have been in contact, and we know quite a few very successful people, you can say from a material point of view. But we noticed that those who are really successful, and they also have this satisfaction to some extent or the other, they have to sooner or later bring God to the center of their lives, because when you are grateful every day, your understanding is in a very humbly appreciating, not just like Hiranyakashipu. His mood was like, I deserve it. This is mine. I need more. Why does Vishnu is there? No, this is all mine. I should be the only enjoyer. So obviously that would lead just to destruction and downfall. But if someone has a little humility and pious background, when they are even pursuing a highest, material goals, we can say like this, then they also understand that they can see that this is not up to them, that actually there is a divine hand that allows them to ultimately achieve that success. And we have seen that those who have this God aspect and keep God in the center to some extent, the other, their material success is combined with also spiritual satisfaction to fulfillment, to one point, to one point, and to one extent or the other. And also the result of that in the action, one can see that instead of just accumulating for themselves, they also lead with giving to others. So they often engage themselves in humanitarian activities in their own way, their own understanding, at their own level. But it's the result they are trying to engage to the higher causes. So thank you so much for the challenge. Now we're going to move to Srila Prabhupada Guru Puja. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, all the devotees.